Yeah,
I'm digging the
welcome to
background.
Expanded Understanding. It's episode 87. This is
Nice.
actually just a cover image from this Awake FM mix.
Yes.
It's
Good
pretty
channel.
cool though,
Been pretty
for
reliable.
sure.
No copyrights so far. It's been wonderful and good music.
Yeah, I don't
Major bonus.
understand. I don't understand why none of it's copyright struck, but whatever. I'll take it. So yeah, it's
Yep.
definitely a very good channel for drum and bass music. There's a lot of good ones out there, but that one's definitely a solid one. Dun, dun,
Jen.
dun,
Jen said it
dun.
sounds good.
All
Hi,
right,
Jen.
good.
Thanks, Jen.
Everything's sounding good. So yeah, what have you been up to lately, man?
Um, just today, well, besides working, a lot of working, I worked 12 hours on Saturday downtown Seattle with my buddy Nate. It's one boiler we have to do once a year on the weekends, and it actually went by a lot faster. Like, remember it taking a lot longer last year. I think things went well. We got a bunch of extra jobs and shit. Anyway, been listening to a lot of different podcasts. Most recently, listened to one with David Cho and Joe Rogan. You familiar with David Cho?
I'm not familiar with David Cho. What does he do?
I wasn't either. Like if you bring up just YouTube, you don't have to click on anything. It's still images like David Cho. Or actually, I can bring it up. I got my laptop. The show looks like David Cho. Are you gonna beat me to it?
No,
Boom! There's a giant one right there. That'll
he
work.
does graffiti. Is that the guy? Or
I
like,
guess. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I
So
mean,
yeah, if
he's
you're looking at it that way, you can look
listed
that up
as a
too.
graffiti artist.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So look at this. So whoops, that one. So this guy though, this is what he looks like. Yeah, I think he works for Vice, but he's a crazy, like awesome human being. Like he's got some stories, man. Like his life stories. Like when he was 18, he was so being whatever I don't know what his actual ethnicity is, but he refers to just being Asian and that dynamic. Um, he worked in Israel and a bunch of other places. This was like 18, but he's 44 now. Way back when, and the place where he worked on a farm. I mean, not just somebody to stay on the farm where he worked in Israel, with a bunch of other kind of travelers and people that came through, and there are a bunch of books there from National Geographic and some other stuff talking about this brontosaurus and scientific articles and shit. And this like brontosaurus in the middle of the Amazon. I'm trying to think what the country was, or somewhere not Amazon, sorry, the Amazon in Congo, right? And he like decided that's what he's going to do. 18. So didn't tell anybody. Did figured out had to take like 8 flights through several different countries. Figured out get down there. Had no idea like the politics. He was there in the middle of the war. That's where he saw people get killed in front of him. Him and this other dude get lost in the jungle for like a week and a half. He's talking about this whole dynamic of going through. He's going to kill this guy. He's going to rock over this guy's head because this guy's just treating him like a slave, like a piece of shit, being super racist and abusive for like days. He ate all their rations like fucking Schmeagol or some shit. Like just fucking turned into this awful human being. And he had this moment of like, is he gonna kill him or not? And like, then he ends up not doing that. And they find these pygmies, and these pygmies were watching him. They brought him back to their place, and they gave him food and shit. And like they ended up just telling what they're looking for was this dinosaur. Everyone thought it was real. Everyone said it was real, even the indigenous people. And like, there's enough things he was gonna figure it out until. He found out at one point of the trip they went a certain amount way, and then they went through all the leeches. He was after that. He said he was pretty much done. Especially when he found out the next thing they were going was most likely that shit that comes off of snails and goes up into your like pee hole, and then you like pee to bleed to death until you die or some shit if this parasite gets up in there or whatever. And they backed out. And he got out of the jungle. But this is all when he's like 18, man. And I guess he did like years of crazy podcasts. Like Joe's talking about, like you can tell Joey really admires him as a person for his like weird uniqueness.
Hmm.
But man, this guy's got stories, and it's just his life. I had no idea. I was like, damn, it's like almost 4 hours. So they talk for a long time.
Cool.
So I'm like an hour and a half or 2 hours into it. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think people that have like a I think everybody should aim to be someone, but that doesn't like have really any specificity to it. You should
Hmm.
just aim to have like a very unique, like full experience.
Yeah.
And like people who have done that oftentimes have really, really interesting stories. Just to like, the art on the screen is one of the murals that David Cho has done. Like
Wow.
apparently he was a graffiti artist, but now he's made a bunch of money off of art now,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
is one of his commissioned murals. It's pretty cool stuff. I really like
Yeah.
what he's doing there. It's kind of got that mixture of it has this little splash of graffiti in it that makes it really look like street art, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it doesn't really seem like graffiti because it's not just like a word or something. You know, like graffiti's
Yeah.
almost always a word, and then there's pictures to accentuate the word, but this has no word in it, which is cool. He has a lot of really cool images. You can find them very easily with just a simple Google search. But yeah,
David Cho, ladies and gentlemen. New to my reality today.
a lot of cool stuff. Most people who are like artists who would paint something like this, I think very much so. Like the art that we create is very much so an expression of our mind. I've worked with a lot of artists, and the ones that are like very mathematical about what they do are like, well, like very logical people as well. Their thought process is the same as their art. You know what I mean? And it's interesting how much art becomes an expression of a person, especially when they're really, really engaged with it. Which, if you're doing anything like what's on the screen right now, you're really fucking engaged with it. Like
Yeah, no
that
shit,
shit
man.
is that shit is hard. It's so hard to create something like this and not have it look like you just did like a bunch of random shit all over the place. To have it still look like a cohesive piece when it's like this level of collage is a really, really tough thing to do. Like it's such a
Yeah.
fine line between like, wow, what a cool mural, and why is there so much stuff painted on top of other stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's such a fucking fine line, and being able to like ride that fine line, like the
Yeah.
fine lines are what distinguish the great artists from the good ones. You know, is how I feel about that.
Yeah.
So, nevertheless, really good
The fine
stuff.
line between being a genius and crazy.
Sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that, and really what I'm saying with that is just more abstractly that like an artist is an abstract thing too, and your ability
Yeah.
to manage these little fine lines is really
You
what
know what?
like separates the men from the
Speaking
boys,
of
so to speak.
abstract thinking, like my brother made an interesting comment when we were hanging out the other night. We were talking about different aspects of um, conversation or our conversation specifically. And I wish I could remember the way he laid out the analogy or something. It was really, really well thought out. Like it was really interesting. But it's very articulate and very specific to specific interactions him and I have had over the years, just conversation. So the nuances, of basically saying, even though it's more beautifully and elaborately said, that I speak very much in the big picture, or the metaphor, or the overarching, or the connecting themes versus the minutia of things, if you will. And that's where we can have a major disconnect, because even just in a progression of thought, as I'm expressing one sentence or one expression, I'm making leaps or doing things metaphorically where there needs to be, in his eyes, or in certain times, I can see that for sure, for a progression or conversation to be more anchored, more progressive
Mm.
between the two people, to anchor those things down or bring them in so it's in some kind of harmonic resonance, I guess.
Sure, yeah, like a progressive continuity to the thing, and
Mm,
I think there's again a fine line there, right? Like, because the whole idea of moving
right.
forward is like taking the next step, but if the step is too large, then the progressive continuity ends up lost. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's where it
Right.
suddenly moves from like just an effective movement forward to like a tangential leap. You know what I mean? And that the
Yeah.
line
Yeah.
between those two is very, very fine. Again, very
Is
fine
this
line
hold on? Is
between them.
this his art too? Is this That's not graffiti
Yeah,
art, is it?
yeah. David Cho also did this. This looks like it's probably done on canvas or paper or
Okay.
something.
Cool, man.
But yeah, I'll probably sit here and continue to bring up images of his. He has a good
Right on.
diversity of art. He has another style that I already like want to put up here that very much so looks like it looks like an ink sketch, but it's done with spray paint, and it's pretty cool. Uh,
Awesome. Good job. Good thinking
yeah.
on that.
So when you were this conversation you were having with him, were you having it because you were just like trying to learn how you could more effectively communicate, or
I
what
think
was the
so. That's
pretense
just
of the
part.
conversation?
Oh, well, that's just like when we actually sit down and talk for a prolonged period, we're, pretty opinionated. I think just because of our own, upbringings and dynamics, and I know we are,
When
but
we're
we're
saying
also
we, are we saying like
my
people as
brother
a
and I,
whole, or your brother
and my
and you?
brother.
Okay.
You said the conversation. They brought it up. Um, but we've learned where I feel like I'm laying things out, I guess, think factually, and I think I'm presuming he must make this cognitive leap for us to progress, and then we start grinding gears instead
Okay.
of so over focusing on areas that we're not in the same overlapping spheres on, I guess, and vice versa. But it's such like fundamental levels on certain regards. We've gotten like, so I've mentioned it before in different conversations, but like, you know, we really can get under each other's skin. And so we work through a lot of that, just accepting the boundaries and really appreciating the deeper level of, I mean, ultimately the same things. I mean, focusing on reasoning, thinking for yourself, being a good person, whatever that means, like just kind of the core basics of being, you know, plur, if you will. And that's all totally there. It's just the dynamics go through some of the anthropomorphism and the interdimensional interactions, if you will. And Frank's shown that those dynamics are just too much of a cognitive leap for him to, like, he doesn't know anything about that, or doesn't believe in those kind of things,
Sure.
whatever. But but going to the same place, not needing those to be a plur person, if you will, right? Some shit I haven't really put it in that framework for, but like, cool. So like, once we're connected on that core level, we're like, we figured out the discrepancies and being able to let them go, or being able to actually talk about them, which we did that night. I don't know if that was part of this conversation, of some of the more fundamental differences we have in his perspective, and then why, and dissecting that, what his position on it, what he feels my position is on it, and like just kind of seeing if we can progress our thoughts on it. And like, and I remember now, it was a lot of conversation. I think we were hanging out his patio until like 4 a.m, just talking about shit. And so it was just very fluid. But there's a lot of those dialogues and interactions that were like, really, I could help me see things in a additionally circumambulated perspective, or if you will. And I was like, fuck, man, yeah, good point. Like, that's really interesting. And that helps me see it 2 or 3 other ways also. I'm like, fuck, you know, and then you happen to change my opinion or something or whatever. It's, you know, I really appreciate it. It's really cool. It's cool to have those conversations with my brother, because only he can add certain nuances to the conversation. Only he would know, because of how long we've known each other.
Sure.
You know, the depth of relationship. So it's like, I don't know. It's just, I've only experienced that a few times in my adult life with my siblings, and it's a cool experience.
Yeah. I think the relevance of the way that the person is presenting the information is always of like utmost importance. If you're going to divulge into anything that could ever possibly be described as story, right? If it starts having identities and characters, it's probably a story. If you know, like, you may believe it is a true story or a fictional story, that's up to the the perception, but it's still a story. And when we talk in story, if that story is not relevant to the person that we're talking to about it, like, they might as well just not even be listening to us, because it just doesn't stick. Yeah.
Right.
I think there's ways to, like, kind of carry them into that relevance. But it's really just better if you're like a person who speaks to their, as I call it, symbol set.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's where that's where I was trying to dice down with my brother. Where are symbol sets? Where are they clashing? That's a problem when I make certain statements. And to me, science is a symbol set of a lot of experience, a lot of things I've experienced, and vice versa. I think they're one and the same, and but like, that's the way I see my spiritual experiences. He's had many spiritual experiences also, and he doesn't see them and connect them in the same way,
Sure.
as being additional layers of dimensional perception that we, astral planes, all that kind of shit. And so,
what's he see them as?
I
Does he
he
have an
like he hasn't
explanation?
seen. So no, he doesn't. Well, the only thing is, like, I can't pull anything up, and I still haven't astral projected in a way that I would say, like, I've been able to put a card upside down away from me. I can astral project or whatever, be able to remote view the card I picked there, by chance wake up, it's the right actual card, like some provable thing. I have not personally done that. I have not hung out with someone personally who's done that. I've had friends that have some really cool experiences. Nate's had several, but like, he'd have to talk to Josh. It's one of those things we're just sharing here is experience. You're not going to deny someone's experience. Okay, but it doesn't mean this is some shared realm of experience. People can meet up, have meetings, remember it when they wake up, like, or whatever.
Sure.
That's in his, which is, so that's his take on it. So we're just kind of okay, that's a standstill of a belief at this point. Even though I could talk about the Monroe focus stuff, we talked about that more. I've thought about, I wonder if he'd be down to go through that whole 21-page CIA document, which I was just talking to him about 2 or 3 nights ago. And I wonder if we sit down and go through a page per page with me. There's still shit. I haven't read the whole thing through by through. I've read most of the pages, probably, I don't know, half the pages in there, and the diagrams, but enough that it's like, it's fascinating to know. This is 1983, and then Seven Bomar broke it down. Her Secret Energy Facebook page posted like 6-7 minute clip of Seven breaking down part of that document. I was like,
Okay.
holy shit, talk about synchronicity, right? And it showed up my Facebook feed and whatever, Mike listening, but like, whatever, man. Like, it's really
Yeah,
interesting.
which
He
is
did a
a
clip like
massive
that.
synchronicity because that document has actually been available since like 2013
2003 or
or
2003, I think.
2003. I don't remember what FOIA is, but whenever
Yeah,
FOIA came up on it is when it ended up becoming like publicly available. It's either 20 or 30
right.
years.
No, it's
So,
recycled because I remember that was bigger back in 2000, I don't know, several years ago. We're out of the teens, man. We're in the 20s from here on out, bro. It's a 2020 somethings from here on out instead of the 2017, 2018, like
yeah.
till 2020
Time's
you're
all a
out.
big fucking joke to me anyways, so I don't
Yeah.
care what we're calling it really. Like it's totally not 2020 by the way, everyone. Like that's such an arbitrary made up number. So like
Mm.
we can all agree that that's the time that we're calling it right now. I'm super fine with that and I just buy into it cuz who the fuck wants to argue about what
Yeah, no
day or
shit,
year it
man.
is? Like who cares?
Yeah.
So, as long as I know the right time to meet up with you in this on this planet, we're good, dude. I don't really care what we call it. I'll use
Yeah,
whatever
okay.
terminology makes that happen most effectively, because that's all it really is, right? Like it's a mechanism for meeting, yeah, a mechanism for conjugation, basically. Like that's the only
Ah,
reason to keep time and everything like that is like,
mechanism for
you know,
congregation.
I'm gonna be here for 5 years, or I'll be there at 6:30. Like all you're just like denoting position over space, basically. So,
Mm.
nevertheless, who cares what it's really called? It's like it's just a name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's a number, it's still just a name. So, our calendar is probably like completely wrong, anyways. Yeah. And
Yeah, but
there's like
the
many other calendars on the planet too, and they're probably all wrong too. But right, also inside of their own axioms, which an axiom is an assumptive agreement that is made in order to engage with the system functionally. They're basically math is built off of axioms or axiomatic agreements.
mm,
So it was like we're making an axiomatic agreement when we agree to the idea of or like the property of addition that when you add numbers together they increase. That's an axiomatic agreement, you know. So when you add numbers together they don't necessarily increase. I mean, like if you add a negative to a positive the whole number actually decreases. So like, but axiomatically addition means things increase. You know what I mean? You put them together. So
yeah.
nevertheless, yeah, weird
Mm.
stuff. It
I have
doesn't
a
really matter
question
what
for
year it
you.
is.
Well, semi-related, I guess, because the moon comes into times and cycles, and 13 grandmothers, and a lot of 13 moons cycles, and all that shit. At least in the last 6,000 years of recorded history. Well, I think that goes back to oral tradition, 20 or
We're talking
50,000.
Mayan
Okay,
calendar
so
stuff, I presume,
mine
because you're
calendar's
like
like
13,
200,000, isn't it?
13 in it up. Well, when's the start date of the Mayan calendar? That's one of the most argued things inside of the Mayan calendar is when the hell did the thing actually start? And without like having an agreed upon date regarding that, of which there is not one like it's not just like written down somewhere. It's not
Uh,
even the same time system. I mean,
okay,
like coral.
here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting. I'm thinking that you're saying about the unreliability of that of the start date or the exact year that we're in, right?
More, I mean, year, whatever you want to call it. We
Right.
don't know what day that
Well,
it
wait. Okay, hold on.
started.
I guess
So
let me ask you this. I was gonna bring another angle to it, but Seven, I just realized Seven did a video on this recently. I think Kevin posted it. It's like 7 minutes something. And Seven had a dream the morning of July 26th, just a few days ago. And it was like he went through this dream that he had that was really legit, but he talked about it, reminded him of this calendar that he came across, and they found it again. It's the I think the Mayan, the calendar Kin Maya, I think it's a birth chart thing, but the Mayan calendar thing I know we were talking about, and you're interested that there's been significant interest in that. But that
yeah,
being
the
that was
Zolkin.
the start. Yeah, the Zolkin. That's what it was. Zolkin. That was the start of the actual age of Aquarius and the New Year. So that's I don't know if that was the in
Yeah,
between day and the 27th. So what do you think about all that?
maybe we don't know.
Okay.
That's that's the thing. Like there's reason why he believes that, and there's reason why people believe any date that he's disputing. You
Well,
know,
okay. Why do you think he
so
believes that? Then we'll put it that way. If he seems to be promoting that, why do you think he believes that?
he actually provided information on his Facebook page of like he believes that because of a mathematical breakdown that was shown somewhere else, which is basically
Right.
how all of this always comes to be. You know, the more there's a very really at the end of the day we end up going like which start date do we agree with? Depending on the start date that we agree with, things are happening at different times. What we know for sure is that regardless of the start date that we choose, we always end up choosing a start date that then puts like a major happening right around about now. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it seems like there's something going on there, but depending on the start date that you choose, that thing started happening in 2000, 2012, 2013, 2017, 2020.
Right.
Like
But
there's so
they
many
all
different
line up,
dates.
right? I mean, it makes sense too this year. I mean, with certain things with
Define line up, because
Pluto
the
retrograde.
one that says that like the thing happened in 2000 does not line up with the one that says that the thing happened in 2020. You know what I mean?
No, I think okay. To me, my understanding of that there's different astrological cycles, and if we're gonna do different entities, higher level entities, or higher level, or let's say real world people that tap into different astrological cycles that carry on hidden ancient traditions to tap into that magnetizing that timeline when the stars are aligned, right? Whatever that means, they've been tuning into and focusing in on for generations or
Sure,
some
I
shit.
should. We
Go ahead.
I'm still skeptical, regardless of how many generations they've been passing on the tradition. I'm
Okay.
skeptical of tradition. I'm skeptical of
Right.
anything that can't be like proven right now,
Yeah.
and it's always provable.
Totally.
Because like I don't believe in somebody else supporting the information. I think the information supports itself when it's
Correct.
accurate. You know,
So and so
and
what I find interesting, just an additional aspect of that, um, is that as I'm tuning back into our podcast on you, um, I just sent you the Seven Bomar clip too on it. Yeah. Which actually would be probably wouldn't be copyright. We've done seven before. I don't know if that'd be an issue. That'd be interesting to watch and just dissect. Um, shit, now I'm stuck in that. But what? Oh, that's a cool one. Wow, it looks like is that a knife palette?
it's got all
Painting?
kinds of different shit going on, undoubtedly.
Wow, man.
I mean, like if you
Wow.
get in close to it, you
Holy
see it's
shit.
got a lot of shit going on.
Wow, and the
And
shading and all that underneath, like
obviously, this ain't a very great
wow.
image of it, but
Yeah, but that's
it's
still
got a lot going on. It's
beautiful.
so hard to like do a lot going on like that and have it not just look like fucking garbage.
Yeah, that chaos.
Just
That have
yeah,
be
it's just
controlled chaos, like art,
really amazing what he's
aesthetically
done down here
pleasing
too.
chaos. Wow, yeah,
This
man.
looks like a really amazing weird floral bouquet, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
really like what you would expect as flowers. I mean, this
There's
green thing
teeth. I
over here
see
on
a
the right
skull
kind
in
of looks
there.
like a book even,
Yeah.
but it's like
See a
a
skull in there, like
bouquet
right
of
by our belly
things.
or something?
A
It's a
skull?
skull. Like scroll down by our belly. Right there, boom. Right
You're
in the middle.
talking like this area around
Yeah, yeah,
here?
yeah. The top jaw of a face of a skull or some kind of, it doesn't look human. It looks like animal. The eyes are on the side.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know. It doesn't look like a skull to me. I wonder
Oh,
what he
well,
actually
okay.
drew.
I could
You know
try it out.
what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't know whether it
maybe.
is
I
or it
don't know.
isn't.
He actually, speaking of which,
Tough to
on the
say.
show,
These
This is
layers
David
behind
Cho.
everything are fucking
He
amazing.
had a skull sculpture on the show with him that he had made. It was sitting with him on the show that he'd talked to, and like he has on the show. So that's interesting.
Hmm.
Skull right there.
Well,
I'm
maybe it
telling
is
you
a
the
skull.
teeth. I wish I had the mouse. I mean that.
Yeah, I see what you're
Whatever.
talking about. There's
Oh,
teeth
okay.
in this
In the nose, the
location,
nasal
and the
cavity, right in
eyes
the
in
front,
this
like a
area.
little lizard or something.
Well, could be.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Could be. It's really
Anyway, do
cool though.
you want to see? Do you
Nevertheless,
want to watch this seven video I sent to you?
suppose we can.
I guess
I don't
I
know. Not
could have
really to
pulled it up in
react
here.
Andy
I just
personally,
sent to
but
you. I'm just because the numbers he lays out too are also that's what I was gonna say. All right, when I dove deep into the Jewish and the Kabbalistic literature and dissected that all myself through the actual biblical text, and I found out they're saying all the timelines lined up for their 6,000 year period of when it actually started, the actual return of like the end of Revelation, all that, and then I listened through the Gnostic texts. They were also teaching the same things, and you got I mean, obviously the Abrahamic text, but the Gnostics were a little something different, a little bit, and then just like um, a lot of the other ones. So that lined up for that time, and that's where what I was tracking with the whole Yahweh dynamic was I think it was 2017 or the last time dynamic they would have is 2018 to line up with their own calendars, their own morphogenic fields. It would have to work this way. It would have to. and it didn't both times, and I felt like a shift in the planet or something, and it was different after that to me. Like that was it. It didn't happen. It just I didn't. The second time come around, the first time it came around, it didn't. That's when things really shifted for me in a different way. They were ready to shift, but they shifted. Then the second time it didn't. I just knew, confirmed what I already knew, and
Mm.
so things just changed. I don't know. So like I feel like there's just different waves astrologically that they build a belief system into and carry on through generations through certain belief systems. So they try to catch that wave and they either make it or they don't. And I feel like a lot of the waves have just not been there. They just missed it, which
Yeah.
is okay.
I think
So I
any
don't know.
system that there is like this, any timing system, can only give you a rough idea. Anyways, whenever you're using dates, times, identities, measurements, these kinds of things, they're functionally actually approximations. They're going to get you close, but if you really wanted like the highest level of precision, you wouldn't actually be able to measure in a lot of cases. So the real point is that like you're trying to get
Less
like
bro.
close, and
Less
I
bro.
think
Aliens. Aliens. Like in that
no,
and the
no,
hold
it's
on.
like a
What do you
function
think
of
about
measurement.
no, I know, but
Function of a
advanced
measurement is at
technology.
some point in time you go like, oh, that's good enough, and then that's where you set your approximation. You never
Yeah.
have an actual precise digit. There's just no fucking reason. There's some
It depends
layer
on
to
how
your
precise
scale that
you
you're like,
need. So
that's good
like
enough.
okay, so like I mean, depends on how precise you need. If you know within a day or two, I mean, depends on how you're calculating things. That's
Within a
pretty
day or two is
precise,
not precise. It's within a day or two. It's an
right? So here's
approximation.
right. So that's fine. There's
Precise
one
would
thing
be
of
the
being
exact like fucking Planck second that was the shift, and like
correct.
you wouldn't care about the exact
Okay,
Planck second. You can't even do anything in a Planck second.
no, I know,
So
but if you know when it's coming, if you know it's coming in this exact microsecond on this day or
my
whatever,
point
you
is
know when
that
it's
you're
coming.
never gonna know through that. You're gonna have
Yeah,
to feel the exact time.
right.
Feelings do precision. These logical systems do approximation. They
Right.
get close, and that closeness can help you, but by really actually being a part of the energy, feeling the wave, riding the wave, then you know the exact actual moment that the wave breaks or the wave rises is by
Yeah.
feeling it. The calendar, the clock, the measurement, it's never gonna tell you where perfect is. It's gonna get close at
Okay.
best.
Sure. All right. I'm saying if Armageddon's supposed to come on this day and they're off by several years, that's kind of a big fuck up. People waiting, or that's if they're whatever, if off for weeks or months or whatever. If you're in the window of a day or two of Armageddon or World War III starting, and some text predicted within this fucking day or two, like the day of the return of the Lord in the Hebrew calendar, the day of judgment and atonement that happens, and there's 10 days of war period that happened afterwards usually, and like all the stars and other shit would have aligned for that shit to happen, and then it would have a whole belief system around it
Sure.
based on that dynamic. But I mean, I know what you're saying too makes sense also.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they don't use it for some level of precision. They do.
Yeah, and they
It's
find it within. On the other thing I was saying, they find it within a day or two. So like Jesus said, no one knows the day or the hour except my Father in heaven. Right, but what he was
the one that
alluding
can feel
to.
it.
Well, right, okay, but he was also alluding to a literal 2 day period that he knew when he could come back or this day was, because they didn't know the exact day or the hour. It was a colloquial for the priest that they had to, on the day of this new moon of this return or whatever he could return on. um, Two priests had to sight the new moon. So if it was cloudy or whatever, they didn't know if it was going to be on this day or the day after. It was always on those 2 days, but they didn't know the exact day or the hour. So there was always a window, he was saying. So things are just taken out of context, and you can use them all sorts of ways. But sure, the way
Yeah.
you're saying it works too, it totally works also. It's just that's part of the text a lot of people don't even know.
There's a scientific abstraction of that text that can get you to a level of precision that is beyond the story and the astrology and sticking in the idea that it's a 2 day window. And instead of changing that from TWO space DAY to TODAY, it is 2 day. It is not
Sure,
two
yeah.
days. And the
Sure,
balancing of
right.
understanding which today it is done through having two perspectives of yourself, one in the past, one in the future, because it's always today. It's always conjugating. It can return every day. It's always a new moon. This entire thing can be abstracted as the future is always right now. The beginning is always here. The resurrection is happening constantly. There is
Yeah.
no moment where God does not bring itself back into being. It's all the time. and every moment it also destroys itself. And so both Nietzsche is right, and both the whatever the firm believers in the Lord are also right. God is both dead and alive at the same time, and that's what makes God immortal. Is that it's outside of that system. It's not doing the life death thing. It's both of those simultaneously. It's a 2 day. So
Okay.
yeah,
That being said, I'd love to watch the 7 clip on the Zolkin New Calendar Day.
sure. This is yeah. So anyways, anybody watching this thing recognize there's been several of these according to people. There's reasons to believe all of them. I'm not sure which one's right. I've been trying to figure that out for a long time. I don't. And my consensus is that no one actually knows. The people choose to pick one, and then they're like, "That's the one," and I think that's actually really more of an alignment that they choose
Yeah.
rather
Tuning
than
into a
one
different
that
wave.
is specifically there. You're tuning into something. You're making a choice of a way of seeing things, and that tunes you into a certain thing, and that can be very, very effective. I think in the situation here with Seven personally, like, well, I talk about Looking Glass a lot. He has a dream that shows him that he has shifted to a place where this is not the end right here, it's the beginning right here, and this is the time, and the reality aligns with that belief, and that belief becomes substantiated inside of his mind. And what's really important is that it's a new day today, really, and that it is
Yeah.
the beginning, and these kinds of things. For me personally, this just shows like everything is basically an indication of position. It shows which timeline he has chosen to align himself with. And in his case, a lot of people align with what he believes. And that's kind of fair. He's pretty good at analysis. He's pretty good at understanding. He's got a lot of knowledge. He seems to put in a lot of time. He seems to be talented. Got all the reasons of like a person who has some pretty fucking solid ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it definitely makes sense. Yeah, but I think it's really in the long run, our experience is indicative of the timeline that we are tuned to. And that tuning is really of our choice if we understand how to tune between those things. But oftentimes, well, when you don't have a plan, you're a part of someone else's. So that's that's kind of the way she goes. Anyways,
So think for
I think
yourself
it's
as you watch
good to
this each
believe that
story.
it is the new time. It's interesting also to note that if it was the new time, according to his thing right here, then today is a very, very important day in relation to that, because what he's pointing to, the 26th of July, would have been basically where the I guess the new moon was. It wouldn't even have actually been completely new moon.
Yeah, it's full moon
It would
tonight,
have it
so
would have been like a quarter moon or something. So today's actually really the important one if we're going by Mayan stuff, because tonight would be the full moon in Aquarius. And if this was now the age of Aquarius, then we're denoting the beginning of the cycle as being at Aquarius. And the
yeah.
full moon that's in Aquarius that's doing that actually denotes when we're really in the thick of it. It has come on all the way, and this is the thick of it, and it will be then like moving out as it's going through its sub cycles basically.
Mm.
So this would be August the 3rd would be a very big date for that functionally, because
Mm.
it's third, well, it's the full moon of the
Yeah.
Aquarius cycle. So nevertheless, gonna press play, and I'm gonna go ahead and actually just also make it, well, I'm not gonna make it full screen. I am gonna make it full screen because there's no way there's a copyright strike on this. All right,
Yeah.
here we go.
Yeah.
What's up, Seven Bowman? Let's hear what you got to say.
Wholeness and Balance Vibration Tribe. I trust everybody as well. It's always great to be able to connect with you. It is another day. I'm actually jumping in here really briefly for a message. Hopefully, I can make this as fast as possible. I just felt inspired to share, and I also even got a double confirmation this morning from looking at the chat and seeing our sister Paige make a comment about dreams in a dream chat. So I did leave a message there. But as I mentioned, I was about to leave a video about something that happened this morning. So I'll go ahead and get into it. So it was around 4 a.m. I'm in this dream. I'm just going to give as many details as possible. You know how dreams are. So stuff kind of moves around a little bit. But the synopsis was I was actually in a school, and I was there with two dream friends. And I say it that way because I didn't really recognize who these people were, but they were like friends, like somebody I already knew. Our sister Naya was there, Jeanette was there, and that was what was going on. And so we were walking around this school, and it was like after school hours. And so we were kind of like, I would say, like teenagers, how teenagers act when you're doing something and maybe you're not exactly supposed to be there, but you're having fun. And so we were in the school after hours, we were having fun. And one of the things were is to make sure that we leave the doors open, so that we could keep navigating through the school, because if one of the doors closed, then we would be locked in the school or something like that, right? So after a while and kind of playing in the school, we realized, okay, it's really getting late. We may get caught. Let's get ready to leave. And so we started going back through the doors that we had left open. And when we went through this final door, we came into this room. And in this room, there was like a lot of glass, like the entire wall was like glass. So you can really see into the stars. And then all of a sudden, when I'm looking at the stars, I started noticing that the background of the stars, like a time lapse, starts spinning faster. And then I make a statement to everyone that's there, and I'm like, "Look, man, the stars are not spinning like like they normally spin. I know this because I watch the stars all the time." And as we're all looking at the stars spin, and it looked very similar to one of those mandibles that I have where all the globes are spinning, and then all of a sudden they all
Right.
line up. Once they line up, there's like this intense energy that I feel inside of the dream. And then this luminous, it was like a blue luminous vaporous cloud kind of like comes into the room, but it's like a spirit. It's like it's not like a whole big cloud. It's like just one cloud moving, right? And then all of a sudden, and you know how dreams are, my daughter Ara appears, and she's there, and she's kind of standing there, and then I see the cloud go into her, right? So everybody's kind of afraid at this point because we've now witnessed this thing in the stars. And then so I grab her, and then she kind of like she faints. She kind of like passes out. And so I have her there in my arms, and somehow a refrigerator appears. This is how dreams are. And I'm like trying to resuscitate her, and she's kind of like coming back around, and I'm like, "Do you want something to eat?" And she's like, I was like, "Do you need something to eat?" And she was like, kind of, yeah. And so I opened up this refrigerator, and then there was like some meat there. So I pulled this meat out and I said, "Do you want this?" And she was like, "No." There was some vegetables there, and I pulled that out and I said, "Do you want this?" And she was like, "No." And then there was like one apple there, and I pulled the apple out and I was like, "Do you want this?" And she said, "Yeah." And I gave her the apple and she bit it. And then that was the end of the dream. Okay. So now, this dream was, as I mentioned earlier, so clear. It was like you were there. Like I could even feel the energy of holding her, and I could feel the energy of when the stars had aligned and the energy that brought through. So I could really feel that. So I'm laying in the bed, and then I nudged Jeanette, and I'm like, "Hey, are you having any dreams?" And she's like, "Nothing really out of line. Nothing like super special right now. No." And I'm like, all right. So she gets up, she goes to the restroom, she comes back, and then I'm like, I explain the dream to her, and she's like, "Yeah, wow, that's a pretty intense dream." And I said, "Yeah, it really made it intense because I was there and I could feel the energy. Like I even feel the energy of my chest now." And then so like I can't like go right back to sleep. I'm still dealing with it. So I decide, I'm like, man, you know what? Let me check on December the 21st of 2020, where everybody is saying there's going to be, or, at least the cultists are saying there's going to be some major event. And let me do this through the cosmic watch, right? Because you could go and fast forward with the cosmic watch, or what we call the cosmic clock software. You could go and fast forward to that day. So I fast forward to that day. And to be quite frank, like I'm living on the equator. So it looks like every time everything is lining up. So I'm like, what am I exactly looking for on this day as an indicator that something is going to happen here? So then I take to the web, and I'm really trying to also go back to sleep, but at the same time I'm trying to get a little bit more clarity about what it is that I just saw in this dream. So I start to go through a couple blog posts, like I'm typing in Google, the end of the procession, 26,000, blah, blah, blah. So I'm typing in stuff that I'm trying to figure out what is the exact day that astronomers say that we're going into this new cycle, and we're at the end of the astronomical age. And it turns out that there's a lot of confusion around this. Like even Wikipedia, they talk about several different days. Samuel Word thought it was one day. This person says it's this day. And I'm thinking right in my mind right away, like, okay, we're talking about a clock. So how is it that never really changes? So how is it that no one really knows the actual day? This is kind of, and I'm still kind of half asleep, but I'm trying to get the answer, and I'm getting a little agitated about why somebody hasn't just done something where since they know all this, the altisidus and the days and the times and the degrees and all that, and just lined it right up and boom, it's like it's on this day. So anyway, I come across that it's at least called the astronomical year. And I dip into this blog somehow, and this person is trying to like determine what the day is, and they're off. But I look in the thread, and there's another comment from someone else that is saying, hey, this is the exact day. This was already discovered because someone used pi in order to be able to calculate these precessions, because that's how it works. Okay, so I remember coming across this knowledge months ago. I saw some calculations where someone was using pi, and they were showing how that the sky can be exactly measured using pi, because obviously if this is a circle, pi 3.14 can be used to calculate the radius of a circle, right? Okay, now we also know pi in a circle equals the golden ratio, golden mean, which also connects into the apple. Okay, so I'm like, okay, this is, let's be honest, we own something, right? And so this person leaves this huge graphic, which I'm going to paste here after this recording. They leave this huge graphic showing that someone had already done these calculations precisely. And in the end, what they came up with is that the day would be July the 26th of 2020, right? So mind you, I'm a little asleep, and I'm still looking over this, and I'm looking at Jeanette, and I say, hey, remember a few months ago when that date, when we were on the equinox or whatever, and that was the beginning of the cycle? That was the beginning of the cycle right then, right? And mind you, I'm like not realizing that, and Jeanette brought it up. She's like, but that's June. It's July right now. And I said, July what? And she's like, I don't know. So I scroll into the camera, and then I got or the phone, and I look, and it's July 26th. So for me, this is what I mean by like, because I have many dreams, right? And many of these dreams that I just kind of like, okay, there it is again, because I have a very fertile creative mind. I know that I'm in other psyche also, and so, and then also there's projections, and there's all these different things. So I always take the dream with a grain of salt, if you may, because I'm not trying to over influence myself by the dreams, because I've seen that happen. I've seen people get into dreams so deep that they almost get lost in the dream, because you can start dreaming the next day, and then you can start basically guiding your next day through the dream. But if this starts coming offline and you start dreaming about, let's say, we all have an underworld aspect to ourselves. So you start dreaming about negative things, then you think that negative thing's going to happen to you the next day. You're walking around with fear and anxiety, and then basically the dream consumes the person. So this is why I'm like always like this with dreams, unless, as I mentioned earlier, they meet this specific criteria that the ancients were using. You can imagine, I think you can think of the old films where they would have like a girl, like a younger girl that would dream something, and then everybody would believe what she was seeing because she was like the one who dreamed for the tribe. And they always made sure that she wasn't being influenced by external things so that she can dream true. It was more like the oracle kind of thing, right? And so I'm going to paste this documentation here about this day actually being the beginning of the day of the age of Aquarius and the advent of the beginning of the astronomical year. And so again, why many are looking for other days, December 21st, etc. Those days, here's another thing. Like, remember when we talked about it was 72 degrees times 72 times 360, which gives us 25,920. Okay, those may have been approximations. There's another one that it times it by 360, and then they have a certain number. Those may be approximations from ancient cultures, but the pentagram in itself and the tool of the pentagram it was found out in occultism was used to measure and chart the sky because it's pi, and that is capable. That tool is capable of doing that perfectly. Okay, and this documentation shows why. And so I guess the big question is, for me, I kind of got the confirmation on the other side, so I'm gonna roll with that any day. Um, but basically, are we sitting today on the beginning of the first day of the astronomical year? Right? That's powerful. Have a beautiful day. Do something that sets the standard for your next evolutionary infinity. Love someone, have joy, remove fear, remove doubt, angers, really, really connect with yourself and feel the beauty, the power, and the love that you have for just even receiving and connecting, because it's really for our tribe. We all share this co-creative collective energy and force, and each of us has a special gift to contribute and to give to those that are here. So that's what I have for now. I wanted to say wholeness and balanced vibrations and sending all the love to the tribe, and I'll speak with you soon.
And I should try and find,
Oh,
and you have the
I
image
got
of
it.
the thing he said he was going to paste.
I do.
So there's a lot to fucking read on there.
So how much can you make out on there on your end here?
When it's smaller, none of it.
Really? That's how it zoomed in? Oh, I didn't know it takes it off my screen. That sucks. Okay, zoom in even more. Ah, there we go. So there's a lot of math here.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we're going to dissect of all this. So it talks about different pi, some pi. I mean, like, okay, let's get down to these dates, though. Let's see what it breaks us down to. One great age, different quotes from the Bible. May 14th, 1948, Israel was founded on this day. That's been important in all the dates I've seen in texts. This is a very core date of timeline. This day is 26,371 days from 7/26/2020. So that's how we're counting that backwards, based on whatever math I did up here, presuming. And we got, let's see, October 24th, 1948. This day is 26,208 days, about 72 degrees or 1 degree of precession from the end of the age. And then there's another 17. All right, there's a lot of dates here. I don't know how much you want to go. I mean, is there things standing out to you that are exceptionally interesting here?
I've seen a lot of these things just like this. Like every single belief of, well, especially the Mayan calendar, which this is all about, is they all have some reason to believe it. Like I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
What's interesting, I don't even want to go there. I talked about it before. It's like it was interesting, man. It's boring. Okay. Let's see. Q post.
I think if you feel like you are in this time and this information is being presented to you, then it is probably accurate to you. You know, that's where I really say like the feeling will actually give you the true accuracy.
Whoa.
You know, when I have a lot of reasons to believe that, regardless of what all cycles are happening, that currently we're at a position that is, you could call it important or influential.
Wow.
So there's reasons, I mean, from my own experience, there's reason to believe that. I had an extremely weird dream the night before he had this dream that was very much so like rooted in something that is like old esoteric meeting that it ends is the basis for a whole bunch of like the Norse sagas and or parts of them, and is the basis for parts of Shakespearean plays and all over the place, which is, it's understood as like a meeting with these three women basically, and then there's a fourth woman that interfaces with the story after that. And this dream was entirely basically a projection of that experience happening, and that was like the night right before this. And Well, if you read the sagas and all that kind of stuff, that's very meaningful. You know, it would basically be supportive data to this, so that anyone would be experiencing that at that point in time. So I found
Yeah.
that interesting when he brought this up. I mean, like, all calendars aside, I know we are at a very influential time.
All calendars aside, I fucking know it, man.
Yeah,
In it,
I don't feel
feel
like I
it.
need a calendar in order to
Yeah, no shit.
believe in that, you know.
No
I'm
shit,
very
man.
much so like down the idea that really like everything, every single bit of like support or proof or ritual or ceremony, all of this stuff, it's all just like a thing that we do to build confidence in an idea. But if you like intrinsically already have confidence in that idea, then the stuff is not necessary at
Yeah.
all at that
No,
point in time.
it's making more and more sense as time goes on, Zach. It's very true.
So
It's very true.
yeah.
Uh,
I really believe like every single day is very, very important. And like the advice that he gives at the end of it, you know, like that's a good way to approach every single day of your life. It doesn't matter
yeah.
whether it's the beginning of the great year or the cosmic year, the astrological year, or it's just fucking Tuesday, the 26th.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's a great way to live your life. Like that's like inside. I think people should live their life trying to be someone. I don't care what that means to them, but they should basically live every day being like, I'm gonna fucking like start something new, or I'm gonna keep plugging away towards the thing that I want. I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
moving towards what is my idea of reality. You know,
Yeah.
and every moment is the opportunity to begin that or completely end it if you want. So. Ends are
Man,
beginnings and beginnings are ends. You know what I mean? It's impossible to have one without the other. Or, you know, the way that I originally got it was like every
I
win
feel
is a
like
loss, every
I
loss is a
feel like you
win.
do the Rastafarian thing. I think it's a Rastafarian thing where it's like he always presented two sides to one thing. You know, he like look at something, talk about it a little bit, think about it. You know, that's fucked up or whatever, some shit. You know, but sometimes da 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 da, like you know, but always not like a comedian. I guess comedians do that too in a different way. It's like really funny, but like really, he just like thought about it on both sides. You know, on
Yeah,
things all the time. Like he just weigh it every time. He's finding this very balanced, polarized perspective, and just like, huh, it's interesting. You
I think
know,
that's the
and I
way
feel
to
like
go
when
personally.
I feel like you do that in a like without the chill kind of that chill Jamaican vibe, whatever. It's 'cause it's just casual.
Hmm.
Like there's zero offense from this type of person. Like you get along with him, man. Like
Sure.
I have like a super awesome connection with him. But there's a curtness to the way you do it, just like your upbringing and the logical process and the way you lay things out. But it's the same thing. Where you're presenting two sides. It's just
Hmm.
seeing it through a different dynamic. It's funny.
Yeah. Two sides to every story, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one place where relativity is right is that, like, you know, most of our experience is relative unto ourselves. Um, but that means it's very arbitrary.
Yeah.
So, huh. I don't know. I had a good conversation with somebody the other day about like the difference between judgment and condemnation, and how like judgment's not really like a problem, but condemnation is. And most of the time, what people are doing that we would call judgment that maybe someone would have a problem with, they're really
Yeah.
actually, it's really actually condemnation. You know, when like it's one thing to be the way this other
Yeah.
person put
Parse the
it,
difference. Yeah.
it's one thing to be like, you know, this person is an asshole and thusly should be treated like this, and it's another thing to be like, oh look, that's an asshole. You know what I mean? But oh look, that's an asshole. Like that's a
Yeah.
judgment. You know. But
Yeah.
there's not really a lot of problem with that. It's really just like it's actually in a certain way like judgment is kind of necessary for navigation. You have to determine whether or not you want to go like left or right or straight or keep going forward or stop or go backwards. Like you have to make a choice. So in
Yeah.
a certain way, you need like a level of what we could call judgment, but you maybe don't need this judgment that's like super absolute because we lack the perspective to really understand the absolution. You know?
Yeah.
So you just like look at things from both sides and like pick your favorite in a certain sense.
Yeah.
You know. But if we're not looking at both sides of something, then like, well, I mean, if there's two sides to something, you're only looking at one of them. You're only like the best you could possibly do to a test about it is 50%, right? You've only
Mm.
seen 50% of it. So how would you do any better now? 50% is a very terrible grade.
The
Not
D
good.
minus,
Not good.
I think 50 and 49 is failing. You have to have 50%. That's D minus or
Yeah.
some shit.
And an argument can be made that each side is really only like 33% of the whole. And then there's also the 33% that is the interface between those two things. And if you don't know the other side of something, you most certainly do not understand how the other side and the one that you do know are interfacing. So perhaps you're actually missing more like 66% of the information, in which case your grade is a 33%, which is even worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bummer, man.
Yeah. It's
Way the
just
math
is what it
falls.
is. You know what I
Right?
mean?
Yeah,
Like
no shit.
you don't want to get that grade. Fucking do better. Like this is what I have always never really like understood about like just the concept of testing. Really, like a test is really just to see where you're at. I mean, the way that we use
Or
them
you
in like the public
memorize.
schooling system
Yeah.
is kind of a different scenario from what a test really is. Like a test intrinsically will always just tell you where you are at in relation to something else. Someone might apply some type of condemnation to what that says, right? But
Yeah.
really, like intrinsically, the test just tells you where you're at. They could tell
Yeah.
you whether that where you're at is good enough or not in order to pass the class or not, or specifically what grade you get. But functionally, that's a condemnation. They're condemning you to moving on from the class or condemning you to having to take the class again, rather than just being like, yeah, I mean, that's where you're at right now. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not really like, and we can always benefit from tests with that. I've always perceived tests like that, and I think it's actually really helped me. I've never had any level of like test anxiety. Tests have been super easy for me. Like,
Right.
I would have, so I had great grades in school before I
Yeah.
decided that you could just not go sometimes. And
Right.
then they
Yeah.
kind of tanked out of that, my friends. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, like, a real big portion of the reason why I had good grades was just because I was like amazing at tests. But I think it was because
Yeah.
I had absolutely no pressure. Like from moving forward in my life, I've tutored a lot of students at this point in time. I've dealt with a lot of people that have anxieties, specifically test anxieties, things like
Sure.
this.
Yeah.
Hearing their stories, I'm just like, man, it's fucking taking a test has just never been like that for me. I just
Yeah.
never like, I didn't really care whether I passed the test or not. But part of that was kind of because like I knew I was going to. But part of
Sure.
that was kind of because like I knew the test just said where I was at. Like there wasn't really a failure to the test. That was just like arbitrary based off someone else's perspective of how good I was supposed to do so far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't really fail the test. I can only just express where I'm at.
Yeah.
And so that took the whole edge off for me, at least.
Yeah.
I was never bothered about tests. Like I fucking actually didn't even realize until like after high school that like that was a thing that a person did ever. I had no idea. Like it just didn't occur to me that someone would be stressed out by a test. Just never
Yeah.
crossed my
No,
mind.
I mean, I remember when I first heard that, but yeah, that was I don't know, same thing. I mean, school is just easy for me. It was easy for me to do whatever I want on the weekends, or party or hang out if I want to do whatever, play basketball, or just like I just got my shit done super early. It was super easy, and tests were easy, and I graduated with I think I don't know, 3.5 or something. I just didn't care though. I wasn't even trying. Like at the end, it was like literally I wasn't trying at all, and it was like a 3.5 for overall. It's like, yeah, it's totally fine. That's fine to get into whatever college I wanted to get into for that time and that matter.
Sure.
And it was just, I don't know, tests were kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what they're looking for. I think we talked about this before, but like, I guess one of the things my dad told me too, you just understand what answers they are looking for. Not necessarily the right answers, your right answers, especially on the dynamics of the question or whatever. Depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you want to stand up for something, it's fine. But I understand
Yeah.
if you want to pass the test, just understand what they're looking for and give them the answers they want.
Yeah, I'm great at math, but I'm too good at math and too stubborn to do good in math class because the whole concept of like you need to show your work. Nope.
Yeah, no shit, man.
Not doing it. And like
no
I
shit.
revolted against that shit. I refused to do it and I lost so many points in math classes because I didn't show my work, but because it like for me there wasn't really like work to show. I just like I knew those numbers went together and they meant this. That was the
Yeah.
fucking work.
See,
That's
what
all there
sucks,
is
man.
to it.
Like, you should have been picked off by one of them CIA programs early, like for being the smart kid. Should have been able like that, or people like that, or
Maybe I
somebody.
was. I
Like,
don't know.
you know, who knows? But like I guess they do that. They try to find those kids nowadays that understand the value in that, so they put you in
Mm.
the advanced classes instead of just beating you into line with what everybody else should be doing. Because I think they
Yeah.
value now that like that ability as they see it as abilities instead of a disability because you refuse to follow rules. Like fuck you, man. Obviously you do it better than everybody else, including the fucking teacher. They're just
Hmm.
upset about it because they want you to do it their way. You
Yeah.
know, it's like you need to be in a different level where everybody else does that too, and then they teach you other shit that's probably way better than that.
That would have been nice. My
Shit,
best
man.
experience inside of school is what was supposed to be my fourth grade year, but wasn't really like your standard fourth grade because I was put into an experimental program known as SUN, or Serving Unique Needs, that you had, like, they tested, well, a lot of people, and it was actually a nationwide test, but then in this specific area, they chose to take like the top, I guess maybe it was 20 people. I don't really know how many people were in the class. And then they
Uh,
put them in this experimental class where like we didn't do any of the fourth grade work the entirety of, I think it was fourth grade. Was it fourth grade? Might have been third grade. Nevertheless, the entirety of our coursework, like the first half of the year, we did a section on paleontology. And then the second half of the year, the entire thing was about Egyptology. So like
cool.
that's all I learned about in that school year, and those
Oh
things were
shit.
actually discerned by a vote that was taken of the students in the class. We were given like the option of like 10 or 15 or something different subjects, and we all
Yeah.
voted on the ones that we wanted, and the two highest voted ones were the two subjects that we did for
Cool.
that year. That was the only year that this program was ran. They shut it down
Fuck
after
yeah.
that. Every single
What?
kid that was in that was like smart as a whip. But I mean, like,
Why would they? Why
you
do you
had to get
think they
really
shut
high
that
on
shit
this
down?
test.
Why do you think?
Uh, the same reason why Hooked on Phonics isn't taught in every public school in the nation.
Why?
Because they don't actually care for you to be smart.
Yeah. That sucks, man. Like, well, who shuts that down? At what level? Like, well, get rid of bureaucracy. Oh shit, you're opening up their minds too much to actually be smart and think for themselves and like make their
I
own
don't know.
intuitive dynamic. Like, I don't know, man.
I don't know who to
That
point the
sucks,
finger
bro.
at, but I know there's only one reason to do it. Like, I think
Yeah, because
if people really
they're
actually
always
wanted
beneficial
people.
programs.
Yeah, so many people on the planet know that there's like, oh, fucking school was like trash for me. And like, I
Right.
feel like I could have learned a lot more things that would have been more beneficial, or I could have learned a better way or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's like, but then school continues to regurgitate the exact same process over and over and over again. And in certain ways, the things that we do induce into school, a good example of this to most people's mind would be like Common Core math. Like, it's arguably not better than the way that we were doing it before. You know what I mean?
I think it's like exceptionally worse. Last I heard, we're just looking into it, but I don't know. Is that not
I
a
think
common
there's two
belief?
different ways that people do math. And
Okay.
like my mind has a tendency to just do math naturally, the Common Core way, basically. Like
Okay.
I just split numbers apart into like basically factors and additives or whatever you would call them. And it's just easier for me to put numbers together that way. And when I would work in my head, I basically use what is like functionally a Common Core style. So when I first saw like people talking about Common Core math, I was like, I mean, this stuff isn't that bad. That's kind of how I do it in my head. But like, I understand how it's kind of like a lot of bullshit to write down on paper, you know?
Yeah.
It's so I don't really think it's any better than the other way that we were doing math. I don't think it's easier to learn or anything like that. Math is like not hard to learn, really. It's just very procedural. And if you skip past a step without knowing it in and out, then probably you're going to fail at the next step too. And we have a
Yeah.
tendency to kind of like railroad kids through math now, where it's like you shouldn't be able to pass a math class with anything less than a 100%, in my personal opinion, because you can either do it or you can't. There's not like sometimes I just can't quite pull it off.
Yeah.
Math is about doing something with a 100%
So I feel
consistency.
like okay, so I feel like I mean, it was subjective to the teacher, but I remember the good. I'm trying to think if this is true. Like this makes sense to me. I feel like this is in my childhood experience. Where some teachers where you'd have to get 100%. So you come up and whatever you get wrong, they go over. I mean that same day, same time with the test, and people come up different times. They go over it with you, and if you miss certain ones, they'd rewrite the equations that are similar, like the same type of whatever, and then you have to go back and to your desk and solve it, and you couldn't, you couldn't be done with the test until you got 100%. So trying to get you to see what you did wrong, or they maybe show you if you didn't know, you could ask or whatever, where you actually got it wrong and explain.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to actually get the concept and pass 100%, which makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
I
Smart way
think
to do
on
it.
one level that helps, and then on another level it instills kind of a bad mindset for math, which is the idea that I would like get to try again. One of the biggest problems with people
Okay.
doing math is that they're not patient enough to do it right and check their answer. And so
Huh.
giving them a second opportunity to do it instills the idea that they would just get a do-over when there's no reason for a fucking do-over. You can give yourself a do-over before you hand the test in. You know
Right.
what I
Well,
mean?
maybe teaching them that or something, or like some way to express that. Like, I don't know.
I think part of the way that we instill that is by requiring a 100 fucking percent grade on the test. If you don't get every single one right, you don't pass the math class, and you are in fucking fourth grade math class for your entire life. Sorry,
So
bud.
pass or fail, 100% pass or fail.
Yeah, it's either
Yeah.
100% or fail.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
what I said, got them to 100%. You just don't. That's
I
really like
wouldn't
that
do
matter.
classes the same way that we do classes either, where we're basically like we have these semesters or whatever. Like there's a large chunk, and if you start the semester, you're going to end the semester there. I would basically have like it'd be more like an evolution system, right? Like there would be a classes that teach this level of these subjects, and as you proved that you had mastered that level, you would be raised to the next level. You wouldn't be in some specific like 7th grade or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You would be in your different levels of the different things that you were learning as you had proven mastery to ascend them.
Yeah.
And like it's
So
completely
it's like your
sensible. Either
stat.
you fucking
It's
know something or you don't. It's not
so
a
then becomes
maybe.
like it kind of becomes your stats like on Sims. Or like
Sure.
an avatar, an RPG, like you understand you're level 5 on this, you're level 3 on this, 0. You haven't even looked into
Sure.
that. Like your level, that's
Yeah.
cool. More shit to learn, man. And the more you learn, basically, and put yourself education and training through, put yourself through, the more your value bar in that regard. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, in a
Fucking let's do
certain
it.
way, you could set up a metric where you could be like, look, I mean, my transcripts right here say that, I'm a 14 in math, I'm a 17 in linguistics, I'm a 12 in arts, I'm a 13 in physical pursuits, whatever. It's all these different
Yeah,
things, and you basically have a fucking stat sheet that you're like giving to an employer or
yeah,
whatever, a potential college or fuck a potential mate, even. Like I would
right.
love to get this kind of report card from a potential mate. Be like, yo, show me your fucking papers right now. Like, let me see where you're at in terms of your like understanding of shit that we have as a culture have discerned is worthwhile to understand. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Have you
yeah,
actually fully completed your like your basic, your intermediary, your advanced, like where are you at with that, you know? And that would be very worthwhile information. I would be very interested in that information, But like, is someone having a high school diploma? That doesn't give you the same, like, that doesn't necessarily mean they really know anything, honestly.
right.
So, some people with high school diplomas, yeah, yikes, you know? There's a variance between what exactly is taught, what kind of requirements are on what is taught. There's the whole idea of like we can get into the idea of conspiracy or foul play, where there's basically the idea of fixing test results or adjusting them one way or the other so that the department can either continue to get some kind of funding or can increase the amount of funding that they're getting based off of some other type of societal play that they're basically making that has to do for money. This happens all over the fucking place. Like all kinds of weird shit comes into that. But
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I think honestly, like the entire societal structure needs an out and out enema, and I would just basically tear it down and redo it. Like my it's kind of like my whole take. Like the computer doesn't work. Let's just go ahead and like make a new one.
yeah,
Like from today,
yeah,
let's just like we can keep using the shit that we're using right now because I mean like it is what it is, right? But like we just start
right.
today discerning what is the system, what should it actually be like today, and then once we have that all discerned out, we just take this motherfucker offline and bring up that one. You know, like
Sounds
I
good.
I feel like that would be a much more effective way to approach things at this point in time, but it would be an overhaul of the way that we do medicine, the way that we do education, the way that we do entertainment, the
Right,
way that we like even approach our own entertainment and hobbies. Like
right.
you would have some methodology of instilling in culture that building worthwhile skills, doing difficult things enhancing yourself in ways that basically increase your value not only to yourself but to society, and these kinds of things would be like what people feel like they are spending their time well doing. It feels like the right decision to them. But
Yep.
I also recognize that this is completely just like the perspective of one dude, and it's no more right than just the way that society is working right now. There's technically nothing wrong with the way that society is working right now. It continues to go on. You might not like it, but that doesn't intrinsically mean that it's wrong. It just means you don't fucking like it. You know, I don't like most stuff about current society, but I don't necessarily think I'm in the position where I have the perspective to say whether or not it's wrong or not. You know, it just
Yeah.
is the fucking way that it is. You know, so I actually like I drive myself to just like figure out a way to like the way that it is. I think it's more important that I like conjugate with the environment than that I change the environment to conjugate with me. So I just try to be malleable into whatever fucking system I happen to be in at that point in time. You know?
Yeah.
It's like right now, if a fucking store requires me to wear a mask to go into that store, I ain't got time to argue with motherfuckers about whether or not I'm wearing a mask. I'm going to throw on a mask. I'm going to go in the store, get my shit. I'm going to leave from the motherfucking store. I'm going to take my mask off. That's the requirement. Realize they've also required me to wear a shirt into the store. You know how many fucking times before I went into the shirt, it was a hot summer, or into the store, it was a hot summer day, and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to need to throw a shirt on. I went back to my fucking car. I got a shirt out. I tossed a shirt on literally just to go into the fucking store. It's the same fucking discrimination. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Now you just added mask to that list. Who really gives a fuck? Like, I don't give a fuck. I understand all of these dynamics of the social fucking climate and all this. I get it, right? But on a day-to-day, do I really want to spend my time doing that, or do I want to go in here and grab a fucking gallon of Arizona iced tea? I want to go in here and grab a gallon of Arizona iced tea, and I want to do it with as little hassle as possible. I like convenience.
I was talking to Nate about this again today, like that dynamic, and like it'd be different if I have my lifestyle set up around. I was thinking about this, so like, what could I do without a mask and maintain my level of convenience and what I would like? Okay, if I regularly already went to some farmer's market, like that fit in my lifestyle, that'll never happen though, because the way I buy food is erratic, and like I just need to grab something from the store. I know they have at the store and it's odd hours and like whatever. And
I prefer to shop at places that do not ever say anything to me about a mask, and I do test them. The first time I ever go into a place, I go in there not wearing a mask. If they don't tell me to put a mask on, there's a really good chance I'm going to add that to my list of places I go frequently. But there is also shit like the closest grocery store. The next one is much farther away. And the closest grocery store, if you walk in the door and you don't have a mask on at this current point in time, like they're going to bitch at you right away. They have a person positioned at the door to bitch at people who don't have a mask on. Right. I just don't have fucking time for that. I don't even want to be at the store in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make the situation even worse.
I don't give a fuck. I just want to get in and out.
Exactly. I want some fucking apples and then I want to leave. So they also require me to wear fucking pants and not let my dick flop around while I'm fucking shopping. I'm not going to cry about that either. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to fucking cry about that. If you're going to live inside of some type of society, functionally, you already say that you're going to mold yourself to what are the societal standards. And there's like a million ways that we do that. You know, they go well beyond the idea of like a mask or anything like that.
So I feel like within a community where you can do that, would I prefer to not wear a mask? Fuck yeah, I prefer not to wear a mask. Would I prefer to wear a shirt? Yes, I would. Like, whatever, that's a little different. There's a little difference there, but that's just culture because this is the new normal, whatever. Like, it is what it is, and it's a weird thing we're in, and that's what it is for people. They feel the same way. Just don't ruffle the feathers. We all have to do it. Do your part. They do all this crazy propaganda, man, here in commercials. Being over here, like, with hanging out with my grandma or whatever, I'm like, man.
Yeah, well, we're in the two worst places.
The marketing and all of that. For
Washington State, specifically Seattle, and California, specifically Los Angeles, are probably the two worst fucking places to be in the country regarding the
stuff and like all the marketing and stuff.
It's
so morally making it the moral thing to wear a mask and all this shit. And it's like that's the weird shit, man. And the way they're like. I don't know. I'm starting to snooze people on Facebook. I'm like, dude, there's just too much intensity, man. Just fucking like hatred of one side or the other. You're either a fucking patriot, you know, or you're a sellout, or like you're a sheep, and like
that's exactly what they want from you.
Take other things. Like Jesus, this is so annoying. It's so polarized. That it's just like fuck, man. Like, ugh, it's like just too charged, man.
Divide and conquer.
Ugh.
Divide and conquer.
So I'm ready for that wave to be over.
I think
people
everybody
to get
that's
on it.
arguing about that should recognize that they could come together on the topic that the government is stealing all of your fucking money right from in front of your face. And if you don't realize that, it's just because you don't understand economics. That's the only reason that you don't realize that. Everybody that understands economics knows that. And while you're complaining about masks and coronaviruses and all these kinds of things, they're fucking stealing all of your money, or more accurately, devaluing it. You don't know your money's gone yet because they didn't take any of your money, but when the valuation settles, you'll know yours is missing. You can't give a stimulus package like that without fucking your economy. Just all there is to it. We're like $23 trillion in debt. We do not have $3 trillion to give out to our people. We just do not have it. It does not exist. It has to be
Yeah, but
make-believe.
what about it? What about? Yeah, it is make believe, but now we can print it from within the treasury.
Money that just gets printed somewhere and isn't backed by something is not worth shit at all.
Okay,
It's
what
only
if that
worth what
comes?
people
What
will
comes
accept
because
it
there's
for.
some amazing Trump deal where we have all this fucking gold or some way to back all this shit up? I'm just saying, like,
Where are they going to get that?
I just feel like there's things more. Maybe there is some minor. I just don't. Maybe there is some global inflation, global crash.
We currently print $3,994 for every ounce of silver that's mined out of the earth, and that ounce of silver is actually distributed between every motherfucking country on the planet for all the dollars that they print. So the amount of money printed per ounce of silver is obviously significantly higher than the spot price right now. And when that's the case, that means that the monetary systems, the FICA systems that are sitting there backed by silver and other noble metals like this, gold is the exact same situation. They're actually built on a fucking house of matchsticks. It ain't gonna work. At some point in time, it's problematic. It's extremely problematic.
Talking about silver eventually is going to be exponentially more valuable than it is now. Or are you talking about opposite?
Well, silver is going to retain its intrinsic value.
Right. Right now,
money does not have any intrinsic value.
Right.
Money has extrinsic value, not intrinsic value. Money's intrinsic value is basically a fire starter. That's the most valuable intrinsic thing that you can do with it. You know, silver and gold, on the other hand, a lot of things that you can do with those. And other metals as well, you know, palladiums, platinums. You could go into alloys as well if you were so inclined. But, you know, probably not smart if you're trying to avoid taxes. I'd stick with the noble metals, and I'd stick with coins that are at least 100 years old because they're considered collector's items, and you don't have to pay taxes on that shit. So that's definitely the way to go. But nevertheless, the point is that we print significantly more money than there is the ability in terms of mining of metals to back in the world. That's an economic problem in the long run.
Right.
Big one.
Right.
Big economic problem.
Right. So that's the way you see it going, to mass inflation before the election, or like what? I mean,
probably not that quick. No, this has been happening for a long time.
That's what I've been saying. So everything you talked about, though, I've known since like 2008. Like I learned all that shit too, and that's true.
Yeah, continuing to happen, but you know, like the things that we've done recently, it's all about M2
now you said they're
dollars.
at 23 trillion, and they just keep extending the cap. They just keep making it illegal. Like everybody said, 2008, they can't prop it up forever. It's another fucking 12 years later, they're doing all right. I think shit's gonna fucking, I don't know, crypto. There's so many kind of meshing semi-crash, but then
crypto's even worse for it. I mean, realize that crypto is yet another thorn in the side, and also at the same time realize like a bunch of people are getting money stolen right in front of their fucking faces off of crypto too. Like,
okay.
So that's not to say that people aren't making money with crypto. If someone is getting robbed and you can get in and steal something too, it's very good. What's that?
The factions, the technocracy, and the other government agencies, like that, like battle going on between these other things. They talk about it, Andrew Schultz and like they're joking. They talk about that shit too.
Perceived battle, at least.
Perceived battle,
you know, it looks like that.
Yeah. But
yeah.
That's a whole.
Is it a battle? I don't really know. You know, there's not any proof that it's actually happening.
Joe was talking about people from that tech. Once they live in that tech industry or whatever, they start. I think they raise their voice at the end of their sentences and talk to you like they know what they're talking about. Every time they're done, they make a statement and let you know that they're done with it. They're done with it, or whatever the fuck it is. Right? They're raising their voices, and he's just like,
they're done with it.
Yeah, and he's like, He's like, fucking stop it. Like, fucking knock it off. Like, that's some of the snobbiest fucking, like, he just starts railing off on this whole thing and just how ridiculous it is. And he's had friends go there and start talking like this. Fucking not, fucking stop. You know, whatever.
Sure. Yeah, he doesn't like
It's
it.
funny. I didn't even know that was a thing, though, that they, he's like, he was really advocating because they thought they were fucking around at first. And he was like, no, really. Here, let me explain. Like, went the accents and just explain why. I thought that was pretty funny. Now I know a lingo. The techno kids, I don't know, whatever they're.
Sure. Yeah.
Just like that.
At any rate,
So,
people should invest wisely right now. That's what you should do with all of your Monopoly dollars, in my personal opinion. Invest wisely, but realize, like, you know, wisely is the operative word, not the invest one. You know, invest good, wisely, much better. There's a lot of ways to make money right now just by investing money, but there's also a lot of ways to lose money.
yeah, no doubt.
So, yeah,
Cool.
gotta be careful out there. Ethereum and Bitcoin look all right for at least a little while right now. I would say that. That's probably a safe increase. Yeah.
Cool.
Currently. Until the next time that they decide to manipulate the fuck out of the market.
Yeah, shit happens.
But if they decide to manipulate the fuck out of the market, they're going to spike the price first. So you just got to sell before they tank the price. And then you're on the good end of that. But realize that you stole someone else's money. So just how it works, though. That's capitalism, boys. The winners stand on top of the losers. That's capitalism. Yep. That's why that's why we put him on a podium. Really, that's the whole idea of the podium and putting multiple people, you know, you got multiple people up there that they're standing higher than everybody else, is that in any type of competitive mindset, the winners stand on top of the losers. You know, it is their achievements relative to all the other people whose achievements were not as great. But it comes at basically all of the time that was put in by the loser is equivalent to the time that was put in by the winner. But the time that the loser put in, it's not worth anything anymore. And the time that the winner put in, well, they just signed a $28 million a year contract with Adidas because they won. And they're going on the box, not you. So your effort is not worth shit at that point in time. You know what I mean? So, again,
Yes.
kind of the world that you live in.
Note,
you know what I mean?
On that happy note, I think I'm going to head out for the night.
Cool. Well, you have a wonderful night. I'll probably head out too and go skateboarding, virtual skateboarding. Yeah.
Nice. The new Tony Hawk?
No, the new Tony Hawk will never be played by me because this game came out and it got modded by the community, and it's a way better simulator.
Yeah. It's the one you're talking about.
And when I was talking about it before, I did not even have it modded yet. And the mods that are made for this game, you can adjust everything about the physics. You can adjust everything about. I've fucking changed out every single goddamn sound that the game has. It sounds so fucking realistic.
Dude, can you screen share it, like not right now or like some other time, like or record screen record, and then we can play it on a show?
I can show you a video of it real quick that I actually have open here on my screen. It's just like a 3-minute montage by one of the guys who's kind of been one of the better content creators coming out. A lot of like pro skaters are playing this game, and since it is a good simulator, especially with the mods put in, it feels very fucking real. And like, you control a foot with each of the analog sticks, and there's many other buttons to press, but on top of that, the mods also add it so that you have to actually like manually catch the board by pressing down those things. And like, oh my God, it added so much to the game just because like it feels so fucking good to like roll up to a stair set and bust this sick like backside 180 heel flip. You catch it in the air, you tweak it out, stick it into a fucking blunt slide, and then you actually have to like twist your legs back out of it, and you're doing all of that with the control. It feels fucking great, and it feels super real. Like, I skated a lot, I did rails, I did big stairs. This feels a lot like it, minus the fucking fear component, which is like probably half of the value of skateboarding. But nevertheless, this is just like a montage video, so it's got some like fluff to it. But you'll be able to see,
game,
like,
right?
Yeah, this is all actually like, this is all game footage. All of this is game footage.
Good one.
He has mods installed as well, so the physics are quite good. There's a mod that doesn't work quite with the release version yet that allows you to do like fisheye cameras and everything, and there's like built-in ability to generate clips and shit. So there's already like tons of montage videos. It's gonna be basically the thing about this is like creating your own little skate videos. And there's a fucking million maps already. Like I downloaded like a fucking 200 gig map pack today of different places to fucking skate. That a lot of them are built after real world spots. All kinds of fucking it's sick. So like it feels so real. And 100% with the engine that it's made with, eventually someone's gonna basically overhaul the graphics as a mod. That's totally something that can be done. And there's a lot that they could do with this that people who are good at basically, well, at doing that to save technical terms, will be able to do it fairly easy. For skateboarders.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the skate game now. I'll tell you that right now. Like EA Skate is not, and Tony Hawk, they're just not able to compete. Like they're too arcadey. For someone who wants to feel like, you know, when they can't go out and skate, they can go out and skate. This game's gonna win. Yeah, 100%. Especially modded version of this game. It feels so fucking good. It feels like real skateboarding. It feels all rewarding and shit when you do stuff. Like it's fucking great. And oh, it's so sick. Like the filming's sick too, but it's actually much funner to play. They like, for instance, dude, but the modders have done everything about this. Like the company that made this game, I went over it today. Like they done fucked up big time. They could have made so much money off of this game if they would have released properly with microtransactions proper and all this other kind of stuff and endorsement deals. And like I laid out the whole fucking schema. These motherfuckers should have gave me money before they ever released this thing, because they already released it in like what's a full version you can pay for it. And they done fucked up because it released in a version that like you can just mod the shit out of it and do everything that they could have done as microtransactions as for free. But a lot of the stuff that they should have put into the game, they did not have in there, but modders added it like right away. Like there's no reason why they shouldn't have allowed you to mod all of these physics and shit. Like if you want to be able to like ollie higher, you can just use a mod to like adjust your pop force. You know what I mean? And really honestly, in a certain way, you could like film yourself at a spot, recreate that spot inside of the game, and then make sure that your guy skated exactly at that spot in the game the same way that it did out of the game. Like your ollies were the same height, your kick flips spun the same speed, your rotation of your body was the same speed. You could set all of that and like literally recreate yourself inside of the thing, and then make true to life objects inside of maps or inside of downloaded maps that you got from other people in the community, and really actually like feel like it is yourself skateboarding inside of that place. It's pretty fucking, it's great. Awesome. What a great, it's funny too, because I'm so glad that they released it in a stupid ass way, because that means like all the shit that you ever want to do is actually going to be free, right? So like at most you have to buy the base version of the game. Note for the, you know, yield pirates out there, it has 0 copy protection. None. They didn't even try to stop you from pirating it at all.
Maybe that's what they wanted, or you just think it was a mistake. They just didn't realize.
I think they're fucking idiots and have no idea how to protect or leverage their IP, and it shows in just like 100 million different ways. But it's okay, because they should have always listened to the community about everything, anyways. And now, really, the way that they've provided the thing, really just like the community gets to call all the shots on basically all future development of the game. They have enough. They provided it with like a bare bones engine that has full access to modding. You can mod literally everything. You can mod the way that the sun operates inside of a level. You can mod everything. And since they did that, they literally just basically like released the engine for skateboarding, and you can build any world that you want for it. And then they didn't protect that IP at all and just gave away the ability to mod it. And everybody, like, there's already like thousands and thousands and thousands of shirts that you can download for the game. Like whole shirt packs that have like hundreds of shirts. Like my character inside the game is wearing a pair of Levi 501s that I wore when I skated, and an independent sweatshirt that I wore when I skated.
Yeah,
Like,
fuck yeah.
it,
No, that makes sense.
it's crazy. Like, it's fucking weird.
DTs.
You know what I mean? But
No,
like
it did.
all of this stuff can just be put in there now. They could have done so much shit with like endorsement deals and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
man, they screwed the pooch on that one. But the
Whoops.
customer wins because of that in this case,
Yeah.
because the community will take care of the game, because the community of the game is a bunch of diehard skateboarders that also know how to do stuff with computers. Like, and honestly, it's built on Unity, which is a game engine, and like Unity is super easy to learn.
Game.
There's all kinds of tutorials and shit out there of it.
Right.
So I'm glad that they had no idea what they were doing. I'm
Yeah,
super
it sounds
glad.
like it paid off well. Right
Oh
on,
man, it paid off so good.
Glad you get
Right,
so much enjoyment out of it.
right now, certain part of the mods hasn't quite been updated yet, which like does a whole bunch with like okay, so like a lot of the maps had to be redone, and then
Uh-huh.
a lot of them have not been redone yet. And then there was like a fix for the maps that has not been redone yet. So some of the maps that have been redone don't actually work right yet. And then there's also like this setting, it's made by a guy named Babu, and it's just called Babu settings, right? But Babu settings allows you to like set up fisheyes for the cameras, set up different rates of slow-mo inside of the replay thing, adjust basically like the whole coloring of the game and everything like this. Like
Yeah.
it allows you to adjust basically the whole visual look and the way that the camera is operating, and that's not updated yet because he's in the middle of taking exams or something like that. But like this,
Right.
all of this shit, like within like 2 weeks, all of that shit will be updated. There's gonna be so many maps. Like there's gonna be more skate spots in this fucking game than there are in real life, because most of the good ones in real life are literally already in the game. Like the people
Yeah,
already made
right.
maps with it, because they made like a Berlin map, and then it's like this map that has all the good Berlin skate spots. They're just like basically in chunks. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like you don't want to skate in between the skate spots in Berlin. You don't give a fuck about that. You want to hit the skate spots. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's fucking great. Thank you, internet.
Fucking great.
The internet hooked it up on that. Because like I want to skateboard, but I don't want to skateboard.
Yeah. Not in real life.
Skateboarding is painful, my friends, especially if you're trying to be good at it. So, yeah. Anyways,
Awesome.
so yeah.
Great way to end the night.
If you guys like skateboarding, Skater XL plus mods, very worthwhile. And yeah, I'll leave on that because I'm gonna go skate.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have a wonderful night. Yeah, I love you all.
Night, guys.
Love
you guys.
myself. Love you too, Aaron.
Love myself. Love you too, Zach.
All right, we'll see you guys around in 2 days or something. You know, not tomorrow, but the
Yeah.
next day at the same
Yep.
time as every other day that we do this thing. Okay, bye. Bye.
Bye.